Well, good morning. I'm apparently in the dream, sitting here waiting for the trailer guide to open, and I'm having new doors fitted to the truck on that side, on the far side. The big lift-up door that is on there now was a bit of a failure. It's too heavy for the hinges and everything, and so it's going to be replaced by two doors that open outwards rather than one huge door that lifts up. So I'm here early and enjoying the sun rising somewhere there on my back in the illusion of things. And I just posted on my Facebook actually a little a morning post about driving, and how when I'm driving, this is something that I've noticed almost every time when I'm not just driving to like the local shop or whatever, when I'm actually going somewhere that's like 100 kilometers away or more, or there we go, there's the sun behind me somewhere there. Let's see if I can get it in my head. When I'm on the highway, like there's no familiar surrounds. Everything just seems transient and passing by. Whereas when you're in the city, there's a McDonald's and there's a there's a supermarket and a petrol station and whatever, and the mind is constantly associating with things that it recognises. But when you're out in the country, it's just tree, another tree, another tree, another tree, and you don't even think about it. You don't even make the connection. You just sort of go into this, not really a mindlessness, but this sort of open kind of thing. And for me, it's a lot like meditation. And yesterday when I was driving up here, it's about a 2.5 hour drive to get to where I am today. When I was driving up here, I had this moment as I was coming out of Brisbane, north of Brisbane. Brisbane's a fairly big city, 1 million people. I'm just going to sneeze. As I was heading north, just on the city outskirts and entering the main highway going north, I started to laugh. I started to have this release. And it was brought on by the joyous mental recognition, the joyous understanding that, and I was in a huge bank of traffic, like I wasn't cruising a lot, I was crawling, but I was thinking, these are all my brothers, like everyone in these cars, all these people. It's like how beautiful it is. Like we're all just on our journey together, how wonderful, and like just there's a lesson in the course. It's in the first 50. Oh my God, I've got to try and remember it now. When I've forgiven everyone and everything, I will only bless all that I see, and I will recognise my dearest friend where once I saw my enemy, something like that. And there was this moment I had, and I have it many times when driving, but there was this moment I had where all of a sudden mentally I was connected to everyone in every car, and we were all having this incredibly fun journey together. Like we were all just enjoying it and just like, wow, this is great. Here we all are together. And it was the fact that we were together, that we weren't alone, that we weren't struggling or whatever. Even though we were stuck in a big traffic jam, there was an accident it was like 20 kilometers ahead. It was very slow. But and of course the laughter comes up, it's just joyous. There's this joyous, beautiful, and I had it this morning too in the bakery, like I just went and had some breakfast at the bakery. It's still quite early here. And There's my halo. Oh. In the bakery, I just had this moment with the girl behind the counter, and she was serving, and I was just grateful for her. I was just grateful. Thank you for being here, and thank you for giving your time and your effort for whatever it is you're earning. And that didn't come into my mind, but just thank you for being there. And the joyous realization that we're on this journey together. And salvation is joining with others. It's this whole, it doesn't matter what you're joining about. It can be two people having a coffee, choosing to go together for a coffee. It's about bringing relationships together. It's about that unity that happens when you connect with somebody. And like there's that, when magicians, maybe magicians, but I was going to say musicians. So when musicians practice, they have a jam session. That's what it's called if you're not a musical person. You have a jam session where you just get together and you jam and you practice guitars, drums, whatever. And sometimes, I was in a band when I was much, much younger, but sometimes when you're practicing, all of a sudden you'll hit some notes or a riff or something like that. Something will happen where all of a sudden there's a few notes that just all boom together, and everybody sort of like stops, and it's like, what was that? We just hit something. There was a moment where it all came together and it was all perfect, and it was all just like, whoa. And you try to recapture that moment, which is a mistake, instead of living in the joy of that moment. But anyway, but it happens, and you see it in dancing, and you see it in all sorts of things. But consciously, you see it in your own mind, and that's when you're doing mind training. You're connecting. It doesn't matter about the form of things. The forms of people coming together can look like anything and be anything, but the recognition is in the mind. When you're doing mind training, you're learning to keep that recognition of the connection that you have with everyone and everything sacred and 24/7. Like it's a permanent thing. And you can feel, right? You have to feel to heal, but you can feel it within you. The potency or the potential or so I had a little analogy the other day. So when I open my mind like that, people often ask me, what are you doing when you have those moments, right? What am I doing? Well, it's not this physical doing, it's the mind using the physical, doing something else other than using the physical. It's retracting from the physical, retracting from the emotional, retracting from the world, going within and having an experience of connecting with something, connecting with the spirit, connecting with source, well, ultimately with source, but not as direct union as it's like picking up a telephone. You're not actually in somebody's presence, but you're there, you're near as you can get, so it's more like that. And it used to take me an hour at least in meditation to have those moments and to have glimpses of light, and now it's instantaneous. But the way that I was thinking about it yesterday, and this bodes to the connection. So you have these connections on the outside world with people, situations and things, and they're called, in the Course, Jesus calls them holy instants, right? You have these holy instants where you connect with somebody and all of a sudden there's a moment and you're like, and you know that you had a moment. It's like when you have chemistry with someone, when you fall in love on the physical plane, there's a moment of chemistry and you're like, wow, I really connected with that person, or I really felt, there was a thing there that felt real, right? But having that across the board externally, and then allowing that to transition to your internal realm, to your internal kingdom, which is what mind training does. Initially in the mind training, you're learning to look outside of yourself, and then very quickly on, Jesus says, now close your eyes and let's do this inside, right? So getting there. So yesterday, I don't know if you know what a plunger is. So a plumber who comes around to unblock your toilet has a thing called a plunger. It's like a half of a rubber ball on a stick, and he puts it in the toilet and goes and pushes away at it, and it sucks back all the blockage in the toilet until it's free again. So I had the idea of, and this might be a little bit long-winded, but this is, people ask me what I'm doing in my mind when I when I do that. Give me a second. So imagine a plunger, right? So it's a bowl, basically, a rubber bowl with a stick. And if you were to put that in the ocean and float it, like, because of the bowl, it would float like a boat, and there'd be the stick hanging down. Now imagine if you had a bucket which represents the ocean, and you were in the bucket. You could pull that stick down in the bucket, and the mass and the volume and all of these things, I'm not very scientific with regards to this, but as you pull it down and the edges of the bucket get wider and wider from the water, right, there's more resistance. At first, when you just tug on it like that, no resistance, because the surface area of the bottom of the bowl is very small, and the surface area at the top around the outer perimeter is bigger, and you're displacing more water as you pull down in the bucket, and you're making that level of water rise up. But what happens is, in my mind, it's like pulling on that plunger, and at first there's this little sort of thing where it's the mind's busy, and you bring it to a point of stillness, and it starts to pull. And this is probably about as good analogy as I could get from it. Oh, Carrie's calling me. I'll have to call her back in a second. And you can feel the pressure against the plunger. So in my mind, I feel that pressure. When I push or lean into listening, like that, in my mind, when I close my mind and I lean into it, I push into it, and I listen. That's what it is. It's listening, right? So there's a conscious listening, which is like pushing in. And at first it takes a long time, or it seems to take a long time to get it, to master it or whatever. But once you've mastered it, it's so quick, instant. And you pull down, and then the water starts to flow. As the water, you pull it down below the surface, and the water goes whoosh and rushes in. And that's, I don't know how I got that analogy. I was driving yesterday coming up here, and it popped into my head. So that's how it feels. There's a feeling to it. That's what I'm trying to get at. There's a feeling in meditation. It's a mental feeling. It's a listening, leaning, pulling on the plunger kind of, but it happens in your mind. It's not like that anything in your brain or your mind actually moves and has pressure or anything, but it feels as if it does. It's sort of, it's hard to explain. There's this total focus on the center. There's this total, I'm putting my finger on my third eye area here. I'm not sure why, because it's not really there, but I'm just pointing at it. It feels like total focus, like that. Anyway, I think the start of this video, I think I was really wanting to talk more about getting out of your comfort zone and getting into unfamiliar surrounds, where just getting out. Get out of your comfort zone. Get out of your house. Go somewhere and like have no plan, no clue, no idea, or as little idea as possible, I guess. It's like it's good to find yourself in an open space. You know, it's like for the last 3 months, 4 months, whatever, I've been sort of preoccupied with the passing of my mother's avatar, and in the dream, and finding my father accommodation at a care facility, old age care facility, and all of that sort of stuff. And now all of that seems to be transitioning to me being able to be freed up into this kind of open space where I've got no plans, I've got no obligations particularly. There's still a little bit of house sitting to go there, but I'm able to now be out and about and do things. And you have these periods in life. Sometimes you're indentured to a job and you've got bills to pay and whatever. And then you just set your goal somewhere, you know, you give it to the Holy Spirit. It's like, all right, I'd like to be out of this job by the end of the year or whatever. I'd like to be in a place where I can focus more on my mind training. And you give it to the Holy Spirit. You give it to Jesus. It's like, whatever's in my best interest, thy will be done. You know, and whatever is in your own best interests often looks like being in some sort of relationship or some sort of situation where initially you're going to be triggered or confronted with your own lack of love, your own inability to love, or unwillingness, better, not inability because you have the ability, your own unwillingness to love. Everything's either willing or unwilling. There's no maybe, I can't, there's no victim, no nothing. It's either love or it's a call for love. And as a divine being, you share the innate power of that beingness with everyone and everything. And that's what we're learning again to use and to connect with and to understand as travelers together on this path. You know, we've been lost in the dark, let's say. I've been certainly lost in the dark through this avatar for the first half of its incarnation, I guess. And clambering as much as I can and struggling as much as I can and kicking and screaming as much as I can in the second half to finally come to these ongoing moments of complete surrender and letting go and actually beginning to enjoy the ride. That's been the last 10 years, you know, but now I have no clue and no care. Whatever it's meant to look like, it'll look like, and I'm willing to accept it, whatever that is. Whether I'm sitting here at the back of this factory place where I'm getting this door fitted on my truck, or whether I'm sitting on the beach and enjoying a cocktail drink with an umbrella in it or something, which also would be nice. It's just all nice. It's just all good. It's all perfect. It's all... it's great. It's just really great. I'm living salvation. I'm living in it. I am it. It's a connection. It's a universal, beautiful, just, oh man. I love you guys. I know when you're at the beginning of, you know, you're picking up the book and you're trying to make sense of the book and you're reading the lessons and trying to figure out how they apply in your life. It's hell. It's hard going. It's hard work. And I wouldn't want to have to go through it again for all the tea in China. Like I consciously realise now that to some regard I'm on the other side of all of that. And whilst I'm not saying, you know, like never say never, I'm not saying I don't have any healing left to go. I mean, I still find myself here with a vessel, so there's more love to be given, which I'm totally about. But man, I wouldn't want to be doing that workbook again. Like, if I could do it for you, I would, because I love you that much. But the mental fuckery of it, the inside out, the twisting and it's just, like, there are moments where you just want to end it all. But just keep the faith, I know what it's like. Just keep the faith. You'll be fine. Step back from it if you need to. Have a cup of tea. Hot baths often help. Really hot baths when you get the energy happening, until you learn to ground it. And sometimes you'll feel like you're on fire. And like Carrie the other day, I'm going to call her back in a minute, but she's having this thing in her hands and feet and in a circle around her head. And I said to her, that's the stigmata, like the manifestations of the denial of the Christ. And it's like, well, everyone associates with it differently, but it's energetic. I mean, the denial of Christ is an energetic signature attributable to the human condition. And when you begin to transition from that, don't be surprised at the phenomena and everything that seems to be pointing to it or representing it or involved with it. It can look like anything. It's so good to be happy, just for no reason at all, just happy. Totally happy, totally joyous, totally in love and loving all the time. Just get out of your comfort zones, get out of your freaking house. Yes, I'm talking to you. Go have an adventure. Don't be a hobbit. Hobbits hate adventures. Go find yourself a Gandalf and go on an adventure. And I love that story too, the Lord of the Rings. I mean, when you see it, it's in everything, like the story of returning the Ring of Power to Mount Doom. I thought I wanted the power, but now I have to confront my fear of Mount Doom to return it, because the power's dangerous to me because I don't know how to wield it. I love you, and I'm grateful. I'm totally grateful to you. You're taking your place. You're learning to take your place and taking your place, as am I, in the Great Crusade, in this incredible participation that you can't really talk about it to people that aren't involved in it. It's hard to, people, you won't understand if it's not part of your thing. You won't understand it. You got to be reading that book, doing those lessons, involving yourself in videos like this, going to workshops, doing whatever you can, hopefully not having to pay for the workshops. And you'll find some teachers, you vibe with some teachers more than others, and that's fine too. Just keep pushing, keep up the momentum. You want to have those shifts in consciousness again and again and again. You want to have little moments of realization again and again and again. Don't let them fade into being something that happened 5 years ago or 10 years ago. Like every week, every day, every month, like boom, boom, boom. Push the limits. Be honest about who it is that you're upset with in your own consciousness, in your mind. Like, I hate this person, I don't like that person, I'm not going to forgive so-and-so. Do the work, forgive so-and-so. Look at what it is that you don't like in the other person. It's a mirror. I remember when I was in Papua New Guinea, they used to speak Pidgin English, and the word for mirror, it's a big word, the word for mirror in Pidgin English is imluk belong you, which which means his reflection belongs to you, right? And they're not just talking about the mirror. It's like what you see in someone else is you. It's your denial. That's why you see it in someone else and not in yourself. But if you're whole with everything, if you're one with all things, then it's impossible to see something in someone else that isn't also in you, because you are the dreamer of your dream. And the only way that you know what you see in someone else is because your mind tells you so. Your own thoughts tell you so. Therefore, you have a running concept in your mind about what it is you think you're seeing, and are therefore associating on the temporal level, which in our endeavor now is what it is that we're here to heal from or release. All right, so do the work, keep up the momentum. And I've had a couple of people now, just in closing, a couple of people now have mentioned that they would like to be involved in, I had somebody yesterday, today actually, this morning, they'd like to be involved in when we buy some land here, Annie and I, and maybe Alana, if she's around at the time, are thinking to buy some land and just have a living arrangement. And we're not going to put on a teaching school or anything like that, nothing formal. If somebody else wants to do that, they can. But just have a living arrangement where people who, you know, or people who are going through whatever can come and just live, and also have the support of a community of people, of like-minded people, and which of course the whole thing will be run on the premise of forgiveness, because people have trouble getting along apparently. I'm anticipating that anyway. That's like, it's, you know, if you find yourself in a new situation, it's not for no reason. Remember that. If you find yourself in a new work situation or a new romance situation or anything, it's not for no reason. It's going to bring shit up. You can't be involved in anything in time and space without that there is teaching and learning involved in it somewhere. It doesn't usually take long for it to show its head. So you do these things, you do anything in time and space knowing that, yep, whatever it's meant to look like, it'll look like, and it'll be for the greater good. So anyway, all right, well, that's it. I love you guys, love you heaps, love you so much, love you just totally, all you people, all you beautiful people.